Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. 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 Hari Om, pranams to you all. In Quest of God, book reading, Ajmer. At daybreak, he directed his steps towards the city. When he was going through the thickly populated streets of Ajmer, knowing not where he was being led, he was always engaged in the contemplation of Ram. A tall and stout Muslim stopped Ramdas and made a sign to follow him. He had no choice in such matters. He always thinks that all calls are from Ram. So, without any hesitation, he obeyed the Muslim guide, not knowing nor caring to know where the friend was taking him. They walked through the streets for nearly a mile and at last stopped at an arched gate. The friend entered closely, followed by him. After passing through a courtyard and on descending some flight of steps, and then going through a doorway, a beautiful masjid came into view. Going in here, he found himself in front of a huge silver mandap, domed and carved picture squarely. "This is Khaja Pir," exclaimed the Muslim friend. "Kneel down here and enlist yourself as the Chela of Muhammad." At once, Ramdas knelt as bidden by him in all reverence. Then, looking up to the kind friend, he said, "Brother, there is no need of his enlisting himself here as Muhammad's Chela, because he has already been a Chela of Muhammad. O Ram, O Muhammad, how wonderful are thy ways! In fulfillment of the fervent wish of that young Muslim friend of Raipur, thou hadst brought Ramdas on a visit to the sacred shrine of Muslims. All glory to thee, O Ram, O Muhammad." Leading him out of this holy place, the Muslim friend left him on the main road. Soon after this, he was taken up by sannyasi named Swami Ramachandra, a man of pure and tender heart. He became greatly attached to Ramdas and undertook to look after him in every way. "O Ram, how can thy ignorant slave understand thy ways? He knows only this much: thou art all kindness, all love." First, the Swamiji inquired in the bazaar for an annakshetra, and having received the information and got 2 meal chits, took him there, and after finishing meals, led him to a rest house where he shared his bedding with Ramdas in spite of his remonstrations. His kindness to the poor slave of Ram was indeed unbounded. O Ram, it is thyself who appearest in the form of these guides to lead, feed, and take care of thy slave. Why? For that matter, Ramdas has now come to look upon all human beings, all creatures, all life, all things as nothing but the manifestation of the divine Ram, whom he is meditating upon day and night. The Swamiji and he remained in Ajmer for 3 days and then left for Pushkar Raj. Traveling on the hill for about 5 miles, they reached a large natural reservoir of water, on one side of which were erected temples and dharmashalas. The Swamiji and he occupied one of them. Here, Ramdas spent 5 days in bhajan of Sri Ram. Swami Ramachandra had to stay in Pushkar Raj for some days more. So Ramdas, at Ram's command, left the place alone for Ajmer, where he secured the company of a sadhu. Prevented from traveling by train by Ram's will, they walked for about 16 miles and then got into a train. The sadhuram who was complaining of indigestion at Ajmer received his health completely. The sadhuram who was complaining of indigestion at Ajmer recovered his health completely by this walk of 16 miles, receiving on the way very little food. Ram does everything for the best. At a junction named Meshana, the sadhus met another sannyasi at whose suggestion they accompanied him to a station called Dharmapuri, where alighting they walked straight to the ashram of a sadhu residing near the mandir of Mahadev. The sadhu gave a hearty welcome to the guests and provided them with accommodation, food, etc. Ramdas was pressed to remain in that ashram for some days. But as the sadhuram could not do so, he left the place after a stay of 2 days and proceeded on his journey. A week passed in this ashram when two sannyasis from a neighboring village came there on a visit and took him to their ashram, which was in a jungle. He remained in this jungle, which he found best suited for Ram Bhajan. The sannyasis were very kind to him. In this jungle, there was a small mandir of Narahari. The interior of this mandir was a perfect square, the sides corresponding exactly to Ramdas' height. Except for 1 or 2 hours of sleep in the night, he was repeating the whole night the glorious mantra of Sri Ram. Here he proved for himself beyond all doubt that Ram protects with the greatest care the devotees who entirely trust him and solely depend upon him. The jungle was infested with wild pigs, serpents, scorpions, and other venomous creatures. Every night, a herd of about 20 to 30 wild pigs would surround the mandir, the door of which was always open. The wild animals would come to dig out roots with their snouts from the marshy land surrounding the mandir, for these roots were their food. Ramdas was freely going out in the nights, even when they were about. But Ram's grace, they never harmed him. The villagers who were coming there during the day would warn him of the ferocious nature of these wild beasts. But complete trust in Ram means full protection and no fear. Moreover, day and night the mandir was freely visited by long black serpents, none of which, however, molested him. Again, every morning when he lifted up the gunny or snack piece spread for him by the kind sannyasis as asana or seat, which Ramdas would use also for a bed at night, he would discover beneath he would discover beneath it a number of reddish yellow scorpions. But none of this stung him. O Ram, when thy loving arm is ever ready to protect thy humble slave, who could harm him? Thou art, O Ram, everywhere, in all creatures, the whole universe, and all in it is thy own manifestation. O Ram, all glory to thee. Ramdas by Ram's command remained in this jungle for about a month and a half for about a month and a half. The afternoons were mostly spent in the society of cowherd boys who would come to this forest for grazing cattle. They would play upon flutes and give him the pleasure of listening to their sweet music. These boys appeared to him as so many cheerful, active little Krishnas. By Ram's grace, the stay there proved altogether a most delightful one. On one occasion, the kind sannyasi friend took him on a visit to a village, several stations away from Dharmapuri, the name of which is Yadavpur. Here there was a great congregation of sadhus. There were in all about 200 in number. It was a feast of satsang. The beauty of it all was to observe the unstinted hospitality of the villagers. Every article of comfort which they possessed was at the disposal of the sadhus. One day Ram's command came to Ramdas to move on. Accordingly, he left the jungle against the wishes of the sannyasis, who wanted him to remain for some months more. Ram passed him Ram passed him on to the care of a merchant at the railway station who undertook to escort him as far as the merchant travelled. An incident that took place here requires to be related now. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Beloved Papa's unbounded grace, today we come to the chapter Ashmir. So everywhere Papa teaches constant remembrance of God, continuously chanting except 1 or 2 hours rest. And Papa clearly mentions who trust him, we don't have to have fear, we don't have to think about anything. He will protect, he will take care of. And Papa made it very clear, everything is nothing but Ram, manifestation of Ram. And he started looking upon all human beings, all creatures, all life, all things as nothing but the manifestation of the divine Ram, whom he is meditating upon day and night. It was very clear to him. So we pray to beloved Papa who is seated within our hearts as indwelling reality, to bless us all with the vision of Ram everywhere. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om Pranams.